Hola, bon dia. Carl Munson here. Good morning to you, wherever you are in the world right now. If you're an expat or an explorer in Portugal, lockdown in Portugal, good morning to you. If you're just checking in from elsewhere in the world, as people do, good morning to you as well. It'd be really nice to hear from you in any of the comments facilities on YouTube, here on Facebook, or even if you're listening on the podcast, do make contact. It's always great to hear from you. And thank you very much for your interest and support of this live stream. So this morning, we're going to take a very quick look at the weather, because I think that's quite... we're always interested in the weather, aren't we? But I think at the moment it's especially useful because it seems to have an effect on our mental health. If you are in Portugal and in a position to comment on where you are and what the weather's like, I'd love to hear from you as well. After that, after we've looked at the numbers, the current numbers, I thought we might look at what the future has in store, as in what your hopes are for when this, that phrase, when all this is over. And it was very, that was the message, I think, from Her Majesty the Queen. I'm from the UK originally, and the Queen addressed the nation yesterday and said, we'll meet again, a little bit like Vera Lynn summoning up the atmosphere of World War II. And there is talk, isn't there, of course, now of when all this is over, what people might do. What normal might look like again. So I'm very interested, after we've done the facts and figures, to know what you're thinking about. Well, what's the first thing you'd like to do when you can get out, as it were, and things have returned to normality, if they ever will return to normality? Because that's another point, isn't it? Do you think we will be going back to what we had before in quite the same way? So do let me know what you're thinking there. You can post a comment and then I can share it on screen. You can even call me if you want, 913-590-303. That's 913-590-303 in Portugal. So let's just go check out the weather and see what's happening around the country. But previously, I used to share a lot of in-depth weather with all the districts of Portugal. But let's just take a very quick overview. And it looks like a thank you to AccuWeather for this. It's a real mixed bag of weather around Portugal this morning. I've got rain where I am, and it's been a rainy weekend, so we weren't able to get out in the garden. I really like it when the weather's good. I mean, for some people, that's just going to be torture, isn't it? If you're locked down in a place where you can't get out and you can see it's sunny outside, that's its own kind of irritation. Should we put it like that? But for me, I prefer it if it's sunny. If I'm having to stay at home anyway. And we've got fortunate enough to have a garden and the kids can get out and so on. But look at this weather here. The temperatures are, pretty low, really. And there's rain around parts of the country. As you can see there, Leiria, Marinha Grande and Coimbra, Aveiro have rain. The sunny spots, unusually, I think, Braga has some sun peeping out from behind the cloud. Évora, that's not unusual there, is it? Évora may have a little bit of sun. Ponta Delgada has some sun, as you might expect. And Lisbon, 14 degrees, cloudy today, and Porto, rain there, 13 degrees today. So there's your weather. Stephanie's been in touch already. Still very grey here in Tavira. A lot of rain over the weekend. Amazing how much it changes the mood and outlook. Absolutely, Stephanie. Yeah, for sure. So let's check out the current facts and figures with this coronavirus, with the situation we're in. And I use the covid19.min-sau.pt. That's the DGS official website, as you can see there. And confirmed cases now in Portugal at 11,278. Suspected cases, 86,000, over 86,000 there, 86,370. Deaths, 295 now. And recoveries, these, as I said before, it's not really a recovery until it's officially tested. So this may mask a bigger figure of recoveries. And I don't know, honestly, how accurate these figures really are, but they're as good as guide as we're going to get. I'm not doubting the veracity. I'm just saying, without testing everybody, you can't really get a proper picture, can you? And I don't, that's not practically possible. But let's go with as good as guide as we have, and that's this one. Yeah, so 295 deaths and 75 recoveries. That hovered around the 40s before, and obviously a few more people have been tested, and you can see there it's gone up to 75 official recoveries now. And you can see the hotspots here still. So Lisbon, you would expect a concentration. And in the north, though, spread across the north, this is where the main infections are, in the north of Portugal. So there you are with the numbers. And I don't know if you want to. Actually, what I'll do as well is I'll have a look at worldometers, because let's have a look. We haven't been talking, as it were, for a couple of days now. I hope you had a good weekend, whatever that means anymore. I mean, it's all just kind of one long weekend, really, isn't it? I have a worldometer to share with you, but just to say a quick good morning from Claire and Steve. Hiya, Claire and Steve. And good morning also from Druba Young Thapa. Good morning from Sintra. Thank you very much for saying good morning this morning. So let's see with worldometers what their figures are for the whole world. And as you can see there, we have a total coronavirus cases of over 1 million around the world, 1,276,571, getting on for 70,000 recorded deaths. But the recovery figure is always better and more heartening with this particular source of information at getting on for 266,000. And with this particular service, you can drill down, as it were, into Portugal or wherever you want to look and see what's going on. And yes, talking of testing, 8,000, nearly 8,500 people tested per million of population, and 29 deaths per million of population in Portugal currently, with those 75 recoveries there. And then you can click and go further into the detail of what's happening in Portugal if you wish to, using worldometers.info with all the graphs if you're that way inclined. Right. So, yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about, what your plans are. Thank you, everybody who's saying hi this morning. What's your plan when this is over? It's such an interesting phrase, that, isn't it? Because that's how we're talking about it, or some of us are talking about it at the moment. Certainly for the Prime Minister, I want to share this. I shared this in the Pure Portugal group last week, and it seemed quite popular. This is a message from Antonio Costa. Thank you to Natasha Don for her continued reporting in the Algarve resident / Portugal resident. And we can see here that the Prime Minister has said, well, I don't know, has said this. Let's just read through this because it gives a bit of background for all of us to think, what's the lesson that's been learned? So tell me your lockdown lessons, if you will, of what you've learned so far, not just about the country picture, and how this has affected us as a culture, as a society. And you'll have a particular angle on that, obviously, if you're an expat in this country, if you're an immigrant into Portugal. You'll have learned something, I'm sure, about how this has gone, how it's been played, and so on. But what have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about Netflix? Actually, let's not go there. I've learned far too much about tigers, I have to say. But anyway, and big cats in America. I mean, I didn't see that coming, quite frankly. But on a more serious note, me and Mrs. M are thinking very differently about the future as a result of this, and I don't know if you are too. But anyway, this is what the Prime Minister's thinking in terms of the future. He affirms the pandemic's big economic lesson is to reduce dependence on China. Prime Minister Antonio Costa echoed feelings throughout Europe today when he told Radio Renacencia that the first major economic lesson of this pandemic is that we must all reduce dependence on imports from China. Nearly said it like Donald Trump there, didn't I? China. This is the moment for Europe and Portugal to position themselves to return to producing much of what we have been habitually importing, he said. It is the greatest decision that we have to make. Today, we cannot have such extensive supply chains that are so dependent on one country. It's a major lesson, said the Prime Minister, as politicians in so many countries were giving much the same message. I wonder if they've had an EU briefing to be speaking in this way. Because I think, whatever your view is about China, that's not really the point here, is it? The point is the dependency on one country and the economic system we've got. Because if it wasn't China, it would be somewhere else that was the cheapest place of production, presumably. And I think we have to be careful not to, or to have a balanced view of China. I'm not trying to make out China are all good by any means, but I don't think they're all bad. And what's more important is the economic system that has given rise to this situation that he speaks of. And he thinks, or it would infer here, I'm inferring, it implies here that a lot of countries are having the same realization that we, as it were, shouldn't be so dependent on one country, that country being China in their view. What these last few weeks have shown is that Portugal has the capacity to produce all manner of items that it simply hadn't thought of producing, said Mr. Costa. Yes, necessity is the mother of invention for sure, listing masks, visors, surgical scrubs, items of personal protection. This doesn't mean the country should reduce its export markets just that it should diversify more. What has happened, in brackets, with COVID-19 has been a global shock in every part of the economy, but we can learn from it. We mustn't go back to the way things were before, stressed Mr. Costa. And that's true, is it not? We shouldn't go back. We shouldn't go back. Louisa, my wife Louisa is listening in. Yes, with our youngest soul, Tigers and Psychos we've learnt about. We watched a really terrifying, it was called a comedy, but we failed to see the funny side a lot of the time. Just sat on the edge of our seats watching something called Sally Forever, which was truly disturbing. That and Tiger King, goodness gracious, should have brushed up on divorce law. I don't know if that's your general reflection, Hannah, about what people should have done and what they've learned about, and if you're a divorce lawyer, or if that's your personal view, is that your partner's driving you nuts at the moment and you should have brushed up on divorce law. Sorry to laugh. I'm sure it's intended as a joke. Those laughing emoticons suggest it might be. And yeah, thank you. It's nice to have Mrs. M tuned in. We're thinking very serious. We're thinking very seriously about our future. So who else? Yes, Claire and Steve, Druba, Stephanie. What are you thinking about the future? What lessons have been learnt so far? And she says, "I hope you're hoping you're not." Got such a bad rap, haven't they? Estate agents, lawyers. Who else? We're finding out. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? We're finding out who we really love in society at the moment, and it's down to the key workers, isn't it? We're coping okay without lawyers and without traffic wardens right now. No disrespect to you. And, oh, this is fantastic, Hannah. Thank you. Barbara saying, "Good morning, Carl. Hope you're well." Yes, hi. Good morning, Barbara. We're just discussing here what our lockdown lessons are. And the first thing we'd like to do, kind of symbolically, when all this is over, is it for a lot of people, to have that pastel de nata and coffee in a cafe again? Do you know, it feels like it's months since I've had a coffee in a cafe, because it is. That's the truth of it. And Hannah, we're happy to be of service here, so you can let off a bit of steam. You've had enough of his breathing. I'm so sorry to laugh again, but it's probably better expressed, isn't it? And shared with the community here, so that you don't act on it in any in any hasty or a negatively spontaneous way. So anyone else who might have some insight into how to manage your partner's breathing, and I mean this in a positive, it has to be a positive and creative suggestion, not a negative or terminal one. Let's share that among the community here. We are Stay Positive Portugal as a group on Facebook as well. Yeah, we are spending extended amounts of time with our partners, and we are finding out things about them. Oh, that was also, yes, just had enough of his breathing. That did come up in that program that we were watching on HBO, which was Sally Forever. An interesting theme that obviously bothers a lot of people. Julie, good morning to you. Good morning. Hope everyone has had a nice weekend at home. Yes. Did anyone do anything exciting? Thank you, Julie. And Neil, belated morning, Carl and listeners. Yeah, we're easy going here, Neil. You've made it in good time. We're just checking out what the lockdown lessons are, and what's the first thing you'd love to do. When it's officially safe, and we're told and we're released like those spring lambs into the paddock, or calves, when you see them jumping about on the grass. That's going to be us in a little while. What are you going to do? Are you going to tear down to the nearest and your favorite cafe, get pastel de nata and coffee? I don't know. What is it you want to do? And what have you learned? What's your lockdown lesson? Barbara, look, we're reaching out to each other. Loving this. Thank you very much, everybody. Hannah, help us at hand here. If you've got a spare room, either go in it yourself or put him in there. You can make it subtle, couldn't you? You could kind of deck it out. I've made you a lovely little man cave that you can do all your hobbies in and sleep in as well. Husband could be Darth Vader, says Gary. Now, that would be a problem, wouldn't it? When you're thinking about all this COVID-19 stuff and how the world is and how it's going to be, and you've got someone next to you going... Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, we're making a lot of fun here, aren't we, Hannah? So your seeming expense, but you're a sport. I know that. Sorry, I'm late. I was just busy finishing burying the wife. Not really. Oh my God, Neil! This is recorded as evidence. That better not be true. The gallows humour. is here, isn't it? Sorry I'm late. Was just busy finishing burying the wife. Not really. Okay. Morning, Dawn and Jerry. Jerry says he's learned not to sweat the small stuff. Yes, good lesson there, Jerry. Stop stressing about little things and have more patience. Yes, great lesson for us all. Rained all day yesterday down there in the Algarve, so cooked to roast, watch Izzard and drank wine. What all is well in the world with that scenario. Yeah, we had jacket potatoes for the first time in ages. People are going for those comfort foods, aren't they? Also having what's this? Having a over the cab bed in our motorhome. Oh, I guess I see. Yeah, it's okay to sleep apart so one can snore in peace. And what you do is you have to frame it as absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Have a night apart, have a little bit of a retreat, and then when you're back together, it's all for the good and all for the better. Hopefully, thank you for that bit of advice, relationship advice, Dawn. Recommending an over the cab bed in your motorhome. If you don't have a motorhome, you could, of course, improvise an over-the-cab bed in the kitchen, maybe, over the kitchen units or something like that. Louise is just suggesting she may well have and enjoy a night in. Ozark, I don't know what that is. Oh, Ozark, not Izzard. Well, Izzard wouldn't have been such a bad choice. Ozark I'm not familiar with, but I'm guessing that's a favourite TV. Yes, I'm finding out a lot about people here and their private lives and how they like to enjoy themselves and let their hair down. Crosstalk here in the community of Good Morning Portugal, episode 7 of Ozark. That looks like it may well be worth checking out. Ozark, tell us more. And then, yes, the shameless plug from the resident astrologer here. If anyone needs astrology, she's there, everyone. And Dawn giggling there. So we'll stay on a little bit longer because this is such fun. And obviously providing a bit of a therapeutic outlet as well. Hope that's helped Hannah in the UK. And maybe we should give your, typically in the way of radio, we should offer your partner the right to reply and see what he thinks about your breathing as well. We binged watched Ozark 2. Has it rained all day? Brilliant. Excuse me, you've made me cough. It is a laughing related cough, not a coronavirus one. I hope, I assure you. We binge watched Ozark. Yeah, so that looks good, Julie. I think that's a little tip for everybody else. Let's do this again, guys. Let's keep this going. See you again tomorrow for more recommendations. It's London, says Hannah. No spare space, but we'll put him out with the bins. It's gone a bit dark in that part of London. And for Hannah, we'll just reach out. We're here for you, Hannah. And it's good to have a laugh, isn't it, for a change? Blooming right, Gary. It absolutely is. So maybe we continue tomorrow. Your top 10 ways to dispose of your partner. Only kidding, everybody. If someone's coming in at that point and hears me saying that, they're going to think you're a pretty rum bunch for influencing me like that. It's a joke, everyone. A smile a day keeps the virus away. Health advice there from Barbara as well. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate that. So let's continue with that theme. Oh, dear, there was one other. This is, sorry, I'm breaking the mood here. Absolutely changing the mood. But this is a really good from Portugal News, the evolution of the pandemic in Portugal, which just goes to show you, doesn't it, how long we've been in lockdown and dealing with this situation. Here, this portugalnews.com, the evolution of the pandemic in Portugal, really good bit of reporting. Schools closed, people were forced to stay at home, tourism ended, and companies went bankrupt, all in a single month. That the COVID-19 pandemic radically changed the lives of the Portuguese and those, considered Portuguese, such as us, having a chuckle here this morning. The first cases of the new coronavirus were announced at the end of the year in China. The contamination, just to refresh your memory, in case your brain is a mush and like, what day is it? What is a weekend? And how did this all begin? The contamination started in a live animal market in the city of Wuhan, which is isolated on the 22nd of January, from which 18 Portuguese were taken. Didn't know that. In late January, the spread of the coronavirus, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak as a case of international public health emergency. On the 21st of February, Italy recorded its first deadly victim, where contamination increased sharply, as also happened in South Korea and Iran and Spain. By the end of the month, the virus was spread to more than 180 countries. That's a sobering roundup, isn't it, or reminder? And then they go into the whole chronology of it from the 2nd of March, when the Minister of Health announced the first 2 cases of people infected with the new coronavirus, right through a daily blow-by-blow account of how this has evolved which makes for very interesting reading in retrospect as well. And also just gives us this platform for thinking, what on earth are we going to do when this is all over? And what have we learned from it? So let's continue on that basis when we meet again tomorrow. But look at that, all the way through from the 2nd of March to the 2nd of April, that particular timeline. Excellent reporting there in the Portugal news. Any more messages? Yeah, great to have had a laugh with you lot this morning. Absolutely, Dawn. Yes, it's a good crack, says Louisa. Well, I'm just thinking, I wonder what she thinks of my breathing. And hopefully she'll reach out to you guys if she has a problem with it, rather than air our dirty washing, as it were, here. Barbara, thanks and take care. You too, Barbara. Thanks, everybody, this morning. Back tomorrow with the facts and figures first, and then a little bit of more chat, and hopefully a bit more levity and upbeat fun like we've had this morning. Good luck to you, Hannah, in London. Take care, won't you? And lots of love to your husband. Tell him we've all been talking about him this morning, and we're sending him love from Portugal. And I'd love to see the look on his face when you say that. Take care and bye for now.